Packer and Durham on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Appreciate Roddy Jones spending some time on this, but now it's time to get back to the links.
Yeah.
Mr. Durham.
Bruce Heppler is the longtime golf coach at Georgia Tech and joins us this morning from Atlanta. His team will be seeking their 19th ACC championship when play begins at the ACC Men's Championship at the Shark's Tooth.
That is a strong number, by the way.
Panama City, Florida, coming up later this week. Bruce, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Shoot, are you kidding? Congratulations on another great spring. You and I, full disclosure, my wife used to work with Bruce at Georgia Tech. We've said that before on this show, but there is something about your past. We've had an interesting conversation last month or so regarding name, image, and likeness and things of that nature, okay? Mark, you may not know this. In 1989, from 1989 to 1991, Bruce Heppler was the assistant men's golf coach at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Good place to be.
Well, that time it sure was.
It was then. Yes, it was.
So, Bruce, just curious, based on your working knowledge, and he is a huge college basketball fan, right? You've always been a huge college basketball fan, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right. Would you care? Packer and I one time had a discussion recently about the 90 Final Four in Indianapolis, which featured, or 91 Final Four, which featured Duke, Carolina, Kansas, and Vegas. Would you care to offer Packer maybe a tidbit or two about that particular Vegas basketball team and what that might have been like had they had name, image, and likeness?
Oh, it would have been crazy. So that's the year they're coming back to defend, right? They went in Denver the year before.
Yeah, right.
And Stacy and Larry decide to come back, and they name it The Big Year Is Here. And undefeated all the way through to the semis, and I still contend off the record that they were not going to let them win another one. Somebody, when we say they, using specific pronouns, that was not going to be a repeat. But no, it was crazy. It was a circus without question. We would go on the road. Actually got to attend every game that year. Part of my duties was also the cheerleader supervisor, so I took the girls on the road to all the games and made sure they did what they were supposed to, of course, as well as putting the towel out. I was quite a position at the time, and we would go on the road, and there were 200 or 300 people from Vegas that would go to every single game wherever we went. So those guys would have, who were certainly following the rules at the time, would have led the country in name, image, and likeness dollars, I would think, rather easily, yes.
Bruce, I actually attended a game at UNLV during Sharks' run, and they had the greatest promotion I've ever seen. At halftime, they gave away a BMW. All you had to do is make a free throw. And it was like a $70,000 automobile. The problem is they brought out these showgirls from Vegas to fill the lane. And I contended that if a guy could pick up the basketball and throw it and hit the backboard, he should get the Beamer. That's how impressive. So when you say that you were in charge of the cheerleaders taking them on the road, I'm thinking to myself, oh, for crying out loud. Maybe we should just stop right there because I can't even go any further with that thought.
I understand, and neither can my wife at this point. So, but I think, as you said, Pac, you attended a game. I think if you remember how those things started, we would turn out the lights.
Oh, yeah.
And we would start the strobe lights with the Sharks circling and playing Jaws.
It was awesome.
And this is when you know you've gone off the rails, is when the mascot was not the rebel. It was a shark in a suit. So that's when you know you've got things completely in perspective at your university, when the head coach has his own mascot.
Yeah, when the lights went out, I saw the Sharks at the top of the Thomas and Mack Center going around and around, and all of a sudden fireworks were exploding from the backboard, and the carpets were coming out, and the dancing girls were not wearing a whole lot, were flashing, doing their thing. I'm thinking, you can't beat these dudes in this joint tonight. I got
not
news.
here.
Untouchable.
Nope.
We were ahead of our time. Ahead of our time.
Yes,
There's no question.
Yeah.
Kind of like Georgia Tech golf.
Yeah, kind of like Georgia Tech golf. Here's the awkward pivot. All right, Bruce, I got to ask you, in terms of this, and we just talked to Kim Llewellyn yesterday about stroke play to match play, because Wake trailed Florida State going to the back nine of the women's event last weekend at Pawleys Island, rallied with her great team to win and capture the championship. So take me through the mindset of stroke play to match play. And I know that's what you get at the big show, the big NCAA event, right? So how do you coach that part up after playing stroke play during the regular season, so to speak?
Well, I think the first thing you better do if you make the Final Four is not start jumping up and down and dancing around because it's just getting started. I think that the unique thing about this is, if you're in 6th or 7th place after 2 rounds, the trophy's probably disappeared from view. In this scenario, if you're in 6th or 7th and you have a good last round, you can get to match play and it all starts all over again. So the main difference, I think, that I've learned is, stroke play, it may be the 50th hole before you feel like you've got to make a putt to win the tournament. But match play, the uniqueness of it is the winning and losing starts on the very first hole. You're going to have a putt on the first hole to win, lose, or half the hole. And so the intensity gets ratcheted up big time. And so it just to get them ready to know that things are going to change. And there's nothing like it. It's the Ryder Cup, for us, playing on a team and doing that stuff. So just the intensity is completely different.
Well, we talked about Sharks here at the Thomas and Mack. Now we're going to the Sharks' Tooth to play this ACC tournament. What do we know about the golf course?
We got fortunate. It was supposed to be a neutral site, and they lost the greens at their other course down there. So we actually got to play in February, and we had a good trip and feel good about going back. But it's pretty narrow. You've got to drive the ball really well. It's got some length to it, so it's not a pitch and a wedge course. And so I think the team that shows up and can really ball strike it has a tremendous chance of winning the tournament. But they laid out the carpet for us there in February. It was overseeded wall to wall, so I would expect the conditions to be phenomenal when we get there on Wednesday.
All right, you've won 10 of the last 15 of these ACC championships. What's the secret at this event for you?
Well, it was helpful when we had the event at the same place every year, because all the stories of winning and great shots and stuff were shared on the way up. And as we played the practice round, talking about Nick Thompson's 4-iron this year and making 2 eagles and 3 birdies on the last hole to beat NC State one year. And so we were able to create an environment of expectations that we're just going to play well when we get to this tournament, no matter what the year's been, no matter who we have. There was just a kind of a feeling of, this is our place and we play well here, and you could talk your guys into believing that. And then the real secret weapon is something I picked up in South Africa. We had waffles with ice cream and chocolate syrup every night. So we just try to do whatever we can.
I have found that has helped performances on television and radio shows as well, Bruce. It's kind of funny how that works.
It's amazing. It is amazing.
It's truly incredible. We had Kim Llewellyn on the show yesterday, and of course, Wake Forest just won the Women's ACC Golf Championship over the weekend. And I asked her about recruiting, about watching junior golf now. I'm going to ask you the same question. You've had great talent, right? I mean, great players. You've seen incredible junior golfers develop into great PGA Tour players. David Duval goes on to be a #1 player, et cetera, et cetera. So with that said, Bruce, when you go and recruit now, describe the difference of what junior golf looks like in today's society versus maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever the case may be.
Well, I think the main thing is when you show up and look at the range compared to 15 or 20 years ago, you could kind of walk down there and go, chance, no chance, chance, no chance, no chance, no chance, no chance. And it was pretty easy to identify who the best players were without a lot of time. And I think through time, with all of the new instruction and more kids have access to that, the AJGA was playing 1 event a week in the summer. Now they're playing three times a week. So the opportunities to learn and grow, you don't get better without playing in tournaments. So I think what I see is there's still an elite group, 10 or 15 kids who will make a difference the minute they walk in the door. But the 20 to 120, they all look the same. And so it really becomes just more, can you get lucky with some choices and then try to do a really good job with developing who you get. But that gap has narrowed between the 20th player and the 150th player significantly. And I think that what makes it harder in recruiting is really identifying. And you could do the same thing at a collegiate event 20 years ago. You could walk and that team doesn't have a chance, that team has a chance, just based on fundamentals that you could see on the range, but that's not the case anymore. Everybody's got guys that can play now and swing now, and the gaps really certainly got much smaller.
You know, Bruce, like, for example, Jordan Spieth won this weekend at RBC. The week before, Scotty Scheffler takes care of business at Augusta. Both of them went to the University of Texas. Do you remember seeing them? I mean, they're in their, 25, 29 years old, whatever it is. Do you remember seeing them as junior players thinking, can't miss, that's a PGA Tour player? Or do guys get better, even in this day and age, with all the instruction and the equipment and so forth?
Well, I don't want to be liable here in the state of Texas, but I think Spieth from the get-go was obvious. There was just something different about him. It didn't always look great, but boy, you got to the end of the day and you went to the scoreboard and Jordan was there every day. I can remember actually the last time I watched Scotty Scheffler hit a shot. I'd watched him for years. He took lessons from the same teachers, Paul Haley and Matt Wybring, who'd played for us out of Royal Oaks in Dallas, and they kept telling me, we can get this guy, and I'm going, no, we can't. He's going to Texas, but I tried for a while. And he kind of struggled, as he mentioned in his interview. He kind of changed the way he looked at some things as freshman in college and kind of became a faith-based individual. He didn't have a great mouth as a junior player, and I can remember the last time I heard him dog cussing on this hole, I thought to myself, he did that in front of his mother, and he's not coming, he's going to Texas. I'm not watching this guy anymore. But a lot of those kids are good from the get-go, and they're still around. But again, the gap between them and the rest is narrowing, certainly.
Just goes to show you, Pack, it's got to be between the ears as much as it's got to be, from the tee to the green, right, Bruce?
There's no question. That really is the difference maker now, is those who can, you leave home and maybe dad's been hauling you to practice or mom, and then you get to college and now it's, we get 20 hours a week, and that's just, and it becomes more and more and more the people who love the game and want to be out there, and it's not because somebody else, it's because they want to be there. And that really, as they advance, that really becomes a differentiator, I think.
Interesting.
All right. Always good to see you. Good luck down there on the Gulf. I know that's a new venue for you fellas.
We'll take that, but we'll give it a go.
All right. Let me ask you this, by the way. Has Pastor called you for any of your players, by the way, as potential walk-ons? You got a 6'8" kid. What in the world is going on? Be Bartley Forrester 6'5"? Where did that come from? What are you doing? Recruiting long and lean? What are we doing?
That wedge from the rough's better than that 4-iron from the fairway, I can promise you. This is a fact. This is a fact. When we went small with Howard off the floor and Usher playing the 5, we actually were taller than what Josh was throwing out there. So
That's scary thought.
Oh, I love it.
I've got something for you guys, though. Just so you know, I've spoken to Leonard, and I've hired his agent, and I'm going to get me a mug before this thing's all over, I promise you.
Well, you're 8 away.
You're 8 away, Bruce. 8 away.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But I figured if Leonard retires and I have his agent and I work till I'm 90, I got a chance for the mug.
That's
there we
it.
go. All right.
Hey, just keep winning golf tournaments.
That's all you got to do.
You got
If you
it.
win, you'll
All
be
right.
back the following week. We'll see you.
I
Bruce
like it.
Heppler.
Thank you guys
Be
for having
well.
me.